Hi guys, today's February 22nd. Sitting here at work. I brought my Bible study stuff because this is about the only time I'm going to be able to present anything. First hour prep, thankfully. No students. So, I wanted to talk to you about a few things. I've been contemplating if I should even be making videos anymore, simply because I have such a low following and my other channel is completely shut down. And I miss it because it took me a long time to get where I was at there. But I can't live in the past. I got to keep moving forward. We don't have a lot of time left, guys. Obviously, I think everybody knows that. One of the things that, with the dreams and events that the dreams that are leading up to these events that I've had, what I'm going to talk about is exactly that. The solar eclipse, and I know so many people keep talking about that. This school that I work at is gonna be here, but my children's school will not be during the eclipse. It has to do with the President's Day. They didn't want to make up an e-learning day or whatever. So it's like, all right, whatever. I'm not working that day. I don't want to, or maybe I could. I don't know. But anyways, an anticipation is building, okay, for a very rare sight during this eclipse, okay? And what's going to happen is the comet 12P Pond/Brooks will be close to the sun during the totality, potentially visible to the naked eye inside the moon shadow. And I don't have a colored printer, so I can't really show you the really cool picture, but you might get the comet, and they said that they're going to keep coming, that there's going to be a lot of them coming during this eclipse, and I found that pretty interesting, okay? So, and there's a lot of biblical reasons why this eclipse is different than any other eclipse that we've ever had. August 21st, 2017, we witnessed the very first eclipse from Oregon on down to the Carolinas. Well, now this one is going to be from Maine to Texas, and it's going to make an Aleph, the Hebrew letter A, and obviously we know that there's several reasons why, okay, completely, and it has to do with okay, so 7 planets will line up on April 8th when the Great American Eclipse of 2024 completes the giant X over the United States. Okay, and the eclipse of 2017 started. That same day, the 7 other planets in our solar system will line up in the sky. This is an extremely rare event, and it will never, ever be seen again. On April 8th, the sun, the moon, and other planets in our solar system will appear to form a straight line in the sky when looking out from Jerusalem toward the east. Interestingly, it's called the Devil's Comet, or 12P Pond/Brooks, will be visible during the eclipse on April 8th and will appear to be next to the planetary alignment as well. Okay, and this is very significant. I've had a lot of dreams about this. But I think I'm going to just read to you this one I had on March 10th of 2016, and I'm going to add a video towards the end of this that kind of signifies this dream. And it was sent to me, and I found it very interesting, especially with the numbers. So I dreamt that I was at my old house that burnt down, and I was outside. While being outside, I saw the clouds move, and then all of a sudden, the solar eclipse. I saw the sliver of the moon and orange glows. They were like rings, and there was this person next to me. I said, "Do you see that?" She said, "Yes, I do." I said, "It's the wedding ring eclipse." I stood outside and watched it until it disappeared. The only thing, it didn't disappear. It turned into a planet that was spiraling and was bright orange with rings around it. Someone said it was Neptune. The next thing I know, I was running and wound up in the hills and rocks and saw this planet get closer and closer. Tons and tons of people was outside watching it. Some was scared, but I was fascinated. This planet got in plain view like arm's reach and was bright. This was planet Nibiru. And it had an orange glow around it because it was moving so fast. I heard the words, "Be patient, I am with you, it's coming." The next thing I know, this planet's flying across the earth, and I saw a huge eye in the sky, and it was beautiful, and I knew it was God's eye. I saw March 2016, I am coming, be still, know that I am coming faster than you think, and I woke up. I think that date was given to me as a warning of what's coming. And the dream, obviously, I had in March. So I think that's extremely significant, and I think a lot of people aren't processing just how big of a deal this is. And I have a lot of information, so I'm going to have to probably be making a couple videos here. So, so there's pretty much 18 reasons why this is biblical. They're created for signs, and the sun, the moon was created to serve as signs to mark sacred times. Oh, and I've had several dreams of 5 and 7 planets lined up in the sky as well, and I believe that's significant as well to this eclipse. All right, and then it's it marks sacred times, which is Genesis 1:14, and the April eclipse, which is an astronomical phenomenon that involves both the sun and moon, occurs on the eve of the biblical New Year, Nisan 1, a sacred time on God's calendar. Now they're starting to say that March 1st is Nisan 1. So either way, we're in the vicinity of that. And then it's the sign of Jesus coming. Of all the signs of the day of the Lord, the most frequent mentioned scripture is a darkened sun or solar eclipse. Revelation 6:12, Joel 2:31, Joel 3:14 and 15, Isaiah 13:9 through 10, Matthew 24:29, Mark 13:24, Luke 21:25 through 27, Acts 20:20 and 21. Oop, pardon me. Okay, I'm apologizing. That was the school announcements. Officially, school started. Whoops, forgot about that actually. Okay, so we have Acts 2:20 and 21, and then Ezekiel 32:8. And now we also have, it's a warning for the Gentiles. Okay, and the solar eclipse is a sign for the Gentile world. Since America is leading a Gentile nation, a sign for the U.S. is considered, be considered for the whole entire world. Okay, and it's a Jubilee nation. The eclipse occurs above the nation, uniquely founded on the biblical principle of liberty or Jubilee. Leviticus 25:10.
Good morning, brother.
Sorry. Okay, so that's the last. That was the Pledge of Allegiance. I apologize. All right, so even the number of states, 50, signifies the Jubilee. Okay, and from the U.S. characters of the ironic symbols and currency, the theme of liberty or Jubilee is ever present. Okay, and this is considered a Jubilee sign. It's a Jubilee year. The eclipse above the Jubilee nation occurs during a calculated Jubilee year. The calculation derives from the only biblical prophecy that mentions a Jubilee period. From the time the word goes out to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until Messiah, the Prince, comes, there will be 7 sevens or 1 Jubilee period. Daniel 9:25. Following millennia of Gentile rule, Jerusalem was restored to its original owners, the Jews, in June 1967, counting Daniel's 7 sevens from the start of the first sabbatical week after 1967 is 1974. The 50th year of Jubilee spans 2023 through 2024, and that's why I said it would end on April 8th. And what I find interesting, that is my husband's birthday, and he's going to be 37, and 37 means that it is true. Everything that has been said is true. It also, his name means Yahweh lifts up, or to lift up, to rise up. And that's Jeremiah. His name's Jeremy, but in the Bible it represents Jeremiah, and Jeremiah means just that. I don't think any of this is coincidence at all. And America's 5th Jubilee, out the calculation, eclipse during the 5th Jubilee. The nation's first Jubilee was 1778. Ooh, isn't that when the going forth happened? 1778, when America became the Declaration of Independence came out. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me because I don't remember. That sounds familiar, though. That the Jubilee nation has existed for exactly 5 Jubilees is significant because the number 5 denotes a period of grace or divine favor. While God has certainly shed his grace on the U.S., the impending eclipse may be a sign of the grace period is over. You think? Started on Pentecost from April 8th plus 40 days goes to May 18th, which is Pentecost. 4 days after the 77th year of Israel being a nation, or is that 76? 76. So Israel's 70th Jubilee calculation, 17 Jubilees since the Israelites entered the Promised Land, which 49-year cycle, 1408-07, which is BC, plus 70 Jubilees is 2023-2024. This is significant because the number 70 associated with the release from captivity and the return to one's land, the main themes of the Jubilee. Jeremiah 29:10, Exodus 15:27, Leviticus 25:8-54. 7 Jerusalems and the Jubilee X. 2024 eclipse occurs 7 years after the Great American Eclipse of 2017. What is really remarkable, however, is it crosses paths over the 7 cities named Salem, an alternate name for Jerusalem, and it's also we see that it passes Nineveh, Rapture, Indiana, and it ends up in Jonah. I mean, no sign shall be given except the sign of Jonah. The 2024 eclipse occurs 7 years. Okay. In 2017, the path crosses over Salem in Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Nebraska, Missouri, Kentucky, and South Carolina. The 2024 path crosses over Salems in Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, and 3 in Texas. The 7 times 7 Salems recall the Jubilee prophecy in Daniel, where restoration of Jerusalem initiates a count of 7 sevens. And what's ironic about Jerusalem is because my next video, because this is going to be way too long, is just about similarly with this. Another Jubilee correlation is that 2017 and 2014 paths intersect, forming a gigantic X. Okay, and the center point of which area of southern Illinois is called Little Egypt. And Egypt is synonymous because it has the release of bondage, as in the Jubilee. Exodus 6:6, Leviticus 25:10. All right, and then it's the eclipse paths intersecting at Little Egypt. Consider that on an average, a given location of Earth sees a total solar eclipse about once every 400 years. Yet America's Little Egypt will see 2 total eclipses in 7 years. The 2017 path was 70 miles wide, denoting a release from bondage, Jeremiah 29:10, Exodus 15:27. And the 2014 eclipse path is 120 miles wide, correlating to the 120 Jubilees in God's 6,000-year plan of redemption, Genesis 6:3. There were also 120 believers gathered at the first Pentecost, the festival called the Little Jubilee, Genesis 6:3, Acts 1, and Acts 2. Jubilee asteroids. The eclipse occurs days before 2 Jubilee-themed asteroids, 50 Virginia and 652 Jubilatrix, enter the constellation Virgo. How awesome is that? So, and the pair of asteroids previously entered Virgo in August of 2023, lingering there for the fall before the transition into Libra in mid-April. However, soon after the solar eclipse, the Jubilee asteroids re-enter Virgo and remain there until August. This is all significant, guys. There's so much to this, and it's striking that the Jubilee-themed asteroids, one of which is named 50 Virginia or Jubilee Virgin, linger into the Virgin, the bride constellation Virgo, during a calculated Jubilee year. Jubilee constellation, the eclipse occurs in the constellation Pisces, the sign of the fishes that depicts God's people in bondage, and we also know that has stuff to do with This is Andromeda, Aquarius, the water barrier who symbolizes Jesus. A week later, the sun crosses the band that binds the fish pointed towards Andromeda, okay, which is the chained woman. An eclipse of the band of the fish points towards Aquarius, which is Jesus, evokes the ultimate jubilee when the bonds of mortality are broken and believers are caught up into the heavens to meet the Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 54, and 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 17. And we have number 11, planetary attendance. The eclipse will be flanked on either side of the two planets that symbolize Jesus. To the immediate left, King planet Jupiter will be visible in the constellation Aries, the Lamb. To the right, even nearer, the bright morning star that represents the coming Lord will be dazzling in Pisces, the Jubilee constellation. Given how planets are continuously wandering relative to the sun, it's striking that during the eclipse, the two largest and brightest, which happen to symbolize Jesus, will be visible on either side of the darkened solar disk. Wedding sign and signature. The eclipse occurs 6 months after an annual ring-shaped solar eclipse, also visible to the U.S., occurred in the left hand or the ring finger area of Virgo. And that, to me, represents the wedding ring eclipse, like the dream I just read. That's why this solar eclipse didn't leave, okay? The rings did, but then it turned into the planet because we know that planet Nibiru is coming. That's why everything shifted out of place, which represents wormwood. Okay, the wedding ring eclipse of October 23 is also significant. Okay, so it occurred in the year after a Sabbath, which is the 7th year. The day or year after the Sabbath is a biblical time of weddings. God wed Israel on the day after a Sabbath. Leviticus 23:15 and 16, and Exodus 19. The church was betrothed to the Lord on the day after a Sabbath. Leviticus 23:15, 16, and Acts 2. Jacob, a type of Christ, married Leah after 7 years and then wed Rachel after 7 days. Genesis 29:14 through 30. Okay, and then the wedding ring eclipse of 2023 is that its path intersects the paths of the 2017 and 2024 American eclipses to form the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the Aleph and Tav. Okay? And since Jesus is called the first and the last of Revelation 22, the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet represent a type of signature of God. Moreover, by the Hebrew letter Tav, which is an X by itself, signifies a signature. The double reference to a signature is significant because when something is signed, as the U.S. will be after its impending eclipse, it is considered finished. Now, the reason why I'm going to say this, I believe on April 8th, this is the 40-day warning like Jonah was given. The only difference is they're not going to heed this warning. This is going to be bad. I believe that this is going to trigger the earthquakes and the dead in Christ is going to rise. Absolutely, I believe that due to biblical scripture. This is also 70 days till Pentecost, and the eclipse occurs 70 days before Pentecost, and this is significant because Pentecost is the harvest festival associated with the church, and we know this in Acts 2. Pentecost is called the Little Jubilee. The number 70 means release from bondage, as in Jubilee. Jeremiah 29:10 and Exodus 15:27. There's a Jubilee war. The eclipse occurs as Israel is engaged in its first major war in 50 years. The span of a jubilee significantly, the war of the 50 years began ago. The Yom Kippur War began on the Day of Atonement, the day on which the jubilee is declared. Leviticus 25:8 through 10, and the dividing of the land for peace. Okay, I think that this needs to go with number 15, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to read you guys this other information and pick this back up. So this is going to be considered part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.
At the 4-second mark, they show the alarm clock right here. I explained this in my video that's coming out also. Bells ringing. Bells ringing. A nation's head. Bells ringing. It shows 4-7, 4-8, boom, 4-7, 4-8. I explained this in my video. April 4th, April 7th, April 7th, April 8th, right here, bells ringing. That's what it shows right there. As you can see right here, I will play it on March 31st. March 31st. This is also in it. This is a Sunday. This is the new year. If you know anything about the Gregorian and the Julian calendar, it's the new year. It's the new year, which would be, they also show the meteor impact right here. The meteor impact right here. Three right there, the blast, she fans it. Sunday, 31, 31, 331. It's also Easter Sunday. It's also Easter Sunday. So,